Had a bunch of people tell me to check out Nero Cinema's video. Black Ops 6 SBMM is insane. Activision ramped it up again, and I have proof this time. So we'll go ahead and get it started, but links to his channel are in the description.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel and welcome back to the Black Ops 6 beta. It's gotta be said, this beta so far has been ridiculously sweaty. Some people are enjoying that. Some people enjoy the super sweat.
I will say that that is true. Probably your first 3 or 4 matches, not so much. I was like, dang, not so bad. They toned it down this time. And then it goes into infinity where you got to carry your entire team, which isn't that great.
The competitive aspect of COD, where I feel like a lot of us, myself included, miss the days when we could just chill out and play video games and not feel like there's money on the line every time you get into a gunfight in team deathmatch at 9:30 p.m. on a Monday. You know what I mean? Like, there's got to be some in between there.
There still is a little bit of element of that. You do really have to go in off-peak times. This is something that's been tested and studied over the years since Modern Warfare 2019 when it really got ramped up. If you play early morning before about noon in your specific region, it should be fine. Obviously, it gets really ramped up after work around 5, 6 o'clock. It gets super sweaty. And then the weekends, it can be even sweatier because there's way more players on. So the SBMM algorithm is better at sorting. Like we saw in the white paper, there's like 10 brackets of skill that they associate to players. The top 10% usually suffers the most, and everyone else, and then the algorithm is designed to make the other 90% happy, which makes sense because that makes more money.
Right, but the thing about skill-based matchmaking is here in this beta, it is cranked up to infinity, and I'm sure you guys expected that, right? But today I have proof of that. I finally crossed over into the dark side. I am somebody who has never...
and this is something with we've talked about in previous years' videos. We've done testing on SBMM. We've done collabs with Drifter, Exclusive Ace. We've also done it with Sour for Cold War. I think he did another one in 2019. We've done these things for Warzone. And essentially, we're going to go ahead and check to see what he's talking about.
Or anything. But in the name of science, I want to see just how sweaty
science,
and how
that's where it starts.
matchmaking is in the COD franchise.
And
for
then,
me, every match feels the same. I've said so many times in my live streams that when I'm playing the beta, and it's to be expected, again, there's not very many maps, there's not very many guns. It's the closed beta, therefore people have to pre-order or have Game Pass to play. Therefore, you know, the sweatiest of the sweaty are going to be playing the beta at this time. They figured out the Jackal was the best gun. They lubricated their butt cheeks up, and now they're just sliding across the map, shooting at everybody and trying to get TikTok ad revenue, man. Like, it's just, every game feels like that. Every game feels the same. I keep telling myself that it's not even like I'm playing a multiplayer game anymore. It's like I'm playing a single player game with a...
What's funny enough too is if you used to playing in higher bracket lobbies and you see lower bracket lobbies that we're going to see in a bit, I'm sure, the name changes are different too. Like, these people have Prod, Fire King. Those aren't like low SBMM names. I know it sounds odd, but even the names are different in those lower skilled lobbies.
All you need is a new Activision ID, which all you have to do is get a brand new email account for that. Then from there, I went and got the PC Game Pass for $1, which you can even refund that $1 within 30 days. So you can get your dollar back even. And so with a new Activision ID and a $1 PC Game Pass, I now have a fresh account. Here is the father of four, retired plumber, volunteer firefighter, and leader of the local Boy Scout troop. He's trying to jump in after playing some GoldenEye all these years to try out Call of Duty for the very first time. That's me, and I could not believe what it was like when I got into my very first game, man. Like, it's a whole...
And keep this in mind, there's different levels of what he's discussing right now. This is a base level account. Like when we talked about the white paper or even the average skill of the player, the bell curve, well, this is kind of the middle. When you have a brand new account, essentially the game is doing placement matches to figure out where your skill level is. So if you're just naturally good at games, it's going to naturally guide you towards the higher end of the bracket. If you're naturally not, or it's harder for you to learn, you might stay in the same spot or drop down to a lower bracket. And like we said, the range is pretty wide when they keep track of 10 different brackets of SBMM with different levels of skill level from the white paper. So although this looks like the bodiest it's going to get, the reality is this is kind of like what the average player is going to experience. In this trial SBMM, there's going to be players that are probably pretty good. Not as many because of the way the bell curve's small. There'll be some average players, which is the majority below 1. And then we have some really below average players on the other end of the bell curve. And what will happen is, depending on how well you place, you'll move and get more of those people in your lobby based off those individual 10 brackets that we saw in the white paper. That being said, all of this lobby will probably look really easy. It can look way easier if people actually tank the stats on this account to be to appear as even worse player.
Experience entirely. Like, the skill-based matchmaking is so thick in the COD franchise
just
now
missing snipes.
that for me, every match feels the same. Every match is like super sweaty and people sliding and PWs and like Twitch TV names and everything. Whereas for these guys, this is what COD is like for them.
Guy crouch
every
walking
single match. And I live streamed this all today, and honestly, my voice is kind of shot.
Also, me playing this match, Rewind, I never had one person go up there. It's like, you'd be instantly dead. This is not really, maybe in a certain modes, this could be good to have a sniper sightline, but you'd be instantly dead just because like Nero has a good line of sight here. This person would be instantly dead.
But like, I was laughing so much. It was just such a different experience. I felt like I was in a Discovery Channel documentary or something. Like, here's the father of four grazing in the center of the map when suddenly he's ambushed by the thumbless tiger. Thankfully, the tiger could not hit any of his shots, and the father of four survives so he can try to feed his four children. Like, I couldn't believe.
The other thing you'll notice this, and I know it's become more popular because people are like more paying attention, because content creators are doing the same thing where they're getting into easier lobbies to farm, get higher kills, whatever the case is. But you'll notice the reaction times are just so much slower. The accuracy, they may hit you with a bullet, but they're not accurate enough to hit you with all the bullets. And if you watch a kill cam, it's going to be to the point where it feels like you get aim assist, or they got aim assist kill, where they basically, the kill got given to them just because it kind of locked on essentially.
An entirely different game.
Crouch walking around,
hours like this, where I'm trying not to make the matchmaking system like figure out like what I am and who I am and everything. So intentionally, I would just aim.
What he meant right there is kind of the part that I just referenced, where it'll move you up or down that sliding scale depending on your skill level to put you in that right MMR of where your individual skill level is, essentially the same way ranked play does. Not 100% exactly, but very similar.
Mostly walk around the map. I would miss bullets on purpose, basically just doing everything I can to try to trick the algorithm, because I just wanted to get into these lobbies and just run around in them. It's not like I'm one of those people reverse boosting trying to get nukes or anything like that. In
like fact, I just mentioned,
I did run into somebody today who clearly reverse boosted to get into those lobbies. I forget the score, but he got like 70 something.
So a little bit of a disclaimer there. He didn't tank the stats on this account. So if somebody's getting into this lobby, they did a 2-box probably system where they just joined the level 1 account without any stat tanking. If it was stat tanking, the skill of these players, like I mentioned, would be even lower. So the fact that he got into the lobby with that person, more than likely that individual hosted themselves with a level 1 account to get into this type of lobby, which is still well below their skill level, but not quite as low as the bar could go.
Kills or something like that. I don't know if he's a YouTuber or a live streamer or whatever the hell, but clearly he reverse boosted to get there. It was pretty freaking funny. But aside from him, every lobby was just so continuously and consistently like this, where everybody just doesn't really know how to walk. They don't know how to aim. They don't really know how to do anything. This is like the very lowest bracket of skill-based matchmaking, the very bottom.
Again, technically it's not the bottom, because he could have tanked his stats. Level 1, like I said, it's the placement. So I think that's a little bit of a misinformation on his end, which it happens. There's a lot of confusion around that if people weren't paying attention to SBMM this whole time, at least from this perspective, and how people have been getting easier lobbies for years.
Bracket. And frankly, these people are having more fun than we are. I guarantee you that they are having so much more fun playing these lobbies, not because they're easy, but because they're relaxed and they're casual, the same way Call of Duty used to be. There was this one match I was playing where this guy who didn't have the best mic in the world, but he can still make out what he's saying. You can still understand it. I find him, he's messing around with the RCXD and he's trying to figure out how to control it. And I don't blame him. That freaking RC car is hard to control in this game.
Yep.
But watch what happens right here.
I tried to control the damn remote control tab.
He blew himself open.
Dude blew up his RC car on his own teammate. He's like, yep, got one. He was like so stoked about it.
Yeah, he blew himself up.
I couldn't believe it. Like, this is what Call of Duty kind of used to be like. Obviously, it wasn't exactly like this, because this is like manipulative, algorithmic nonsense where every person in this lobby is the exact same as every other person in the lobby, essentially. And truth be told, looking back at this footage, I kind of felt like a dick. Like, I felt like I was like intruding almost. Like, I felt bad for being here. Like, man, like these guys are just out here. They're enjoying the game. They're having fun. fun, and me showing up almost seems like I'm bullying them in a way. But the thing is, it's not my fault necessarily. It's Activision's fault for taking these people, like these grown adults, most of them probably,
you gotta kill
their
execution
knowledge or consent, just putting them in lobbies like this constantly, giving them the illusion that this is what Call of Duty is like. And when you see those other people like on YouTube or Twitch or anywhere on social media or whatever, those people are probably cheating. Normal Call of Duty is like what you play in your matches. So them, this is just COD. And I'm telling you guys, I guarantee they're having way more fun than we are.
I do agree this leading to a lot of misunderstandings. Like I mentioned in one of my previous videos, I talked about the average player, like which is probably one of these players is average. These aren't like the bottom of the barrel, but they are average, and they can't discern the difference between maybe some of the things that a higher skill player can because of those types of things. They're not exposed to it at the level a higher player ends up running into more of these types of issues. And there's other benefits for Activision. Obviously, there's less cheaters in these lobbies because obviously if the cheaters get good stats, they're going to be in the highest bracket and they won't make it into this type of lobby or even in that protected bracket, which would be even lower than this one, where there's often going to be people with probably disabilities or other types of issues that prevent them from being able to play the game even at the average level.
This just goes to prove how ridiculously thick skill-based matchmaking is. Like I have like 8 hours or so, 9 hours, 10 hours, something crazy of the Black Ops 6 beta streamed over on my Twitch. And you can go look and you can see how every lobby is sweaty, how every lobby is the exact same as the one before and the one that's going to come after it. Everything is just so cyclical when it comes to the matchmaking in this game. That is how thick skill-based matchmaking is. That's how they figure out, based on their patents and everything, where they track everything from your movement to your weapon accuracy to your kill death ratio to the time you spend on the objective to everything, man. They track every single little minute detail about your character.
Yep.
And then try to put you in lobbies with other people that are exactly like that. And that goes across the entire spectrum of the Call of Duty community. You have your pro players there who play other people that like play like they're pros and love league play and everything. Then you have like your normal people like me, I would assume, who just like old school COD and just like to be able to play the game and level up their guns and get their camos
No
and
awareness.
everything. But still, because I go positive way more than I don't, I have to deal with sweaty skill-based matchmaking all the time, all the way down to people like this who just clearly are just playing the game because they find it fun, they find it enjoyable, and they go in and their lobbies are like this every single time. And I will say I was kind of a jerk because there are some funny things you can do in lobbies like this, like even like running around like you guys have been watching me.
What's a funny point he makes right there is he says there's things you can do in this lobbies that you can't do in others. There's a lot of those reaction clips that go viral on TikTok or Twitter or even on YouTube Shorts, where it's some ridiculous thing where maybe they do an execution, they maybe follow the person, they shoot them once, and it's like, dang, that dude's kind of body. But it could just be like a quote unquote average player that we've seen on our little bell curve when it comes to the skill level. And you're able to get those and get those reactions where you're not really necessarily pub stomping to try and get a nuke, but essentially the end result is the same, and that is to get content to share with other people, either to make them laugh, cry, whatever it is, to entertain a specific niche of your audience, which you're trying to grow.
You can
so
still
that's
pull
just
out
part of it.
KDs without even trying to.
That
and
too.
There's a couple of times where like I'm walking up and these guys are going up to try to capture the B flag and domination, and just to try to entertain my live stream and everything, I would pick them up and talk to them in proximity chat and tell them, all right, I like my B flag a lot. I'm gonna have to ask you not to come near my B flag, and then walk him away from it, and then go up and do the exact same thing to another guy. Towards the very end of the match, there was this guy playing the objective, and I feel like such an asshole, but I walked up behind him and I grabbed him. I'm like, we're gonna take your B flag here right at the very end of the match. I'm gonna hold you here so you have to watch.
I bet you this clip right here, this one he got in this quote unquote reduced SBMM lobby, not maxed, a thinner X SBMM you want to call it. If he posted the raw audio of this clip on a short, it would go crazy. Probably get insane views. Everyone would be laughing, thinking it was funny, because it is. And it's just part of the content creation side of it.
And I just felt like such a dick, but it was funny, and just, I don't know, man. Like, it's crazy how the skill-based matchmaking in this game absolutely manipulates everything. Like, there's people out there who are playing a completely different game than you or I. And I think ultimately a lot of people believe that people like myself, and maybe a lot of you out there, that maybe we always want lobbies like this. We want to be able to drop nukes every single game. We want to just beat up on bad players all the time. It's not true, man. It just isn't. When I play Call of Duty or any shooter game online, X-Defiant's a great example of that. I just want to get into a match based on connection, and I want the match to just be a bunch of random people all thrown together, some better than me, some worse than me, some the same as me, and we just go out there and we play and may the better man win.
I will add to this point, when you have issues more related to the overall skill of the lobby, let's say this is just high, and then this is low, and then this is average. What'll end up happening is in a normal like SBMM, the way we would want it to work is it would be something like this, where it'd be average, high, you'd get highs and lows. Maybe you get a highs for a while and then it stays and it'd be average for a while. Maybe it dips down one match, it goes back up. And then you have this oscillation or even fluctuation in your matches. When you're an above average player, or at least you have some experience with playing the game at a higher level, what ends up happening is you understand that when you're in these matches, you'll be able to recognize that it's a higher skill match right off the bat. And then you're going to pull out your Jackal, if it's the meta, or you're going to pull out XM4, whatever the meta weapon is going to be. And then you're going to kind of sweat it out using that good gun. When it dips to these other areas, you'll also be able to recognize that those are lower skilled lobbies. And what you'll end up doing is maybe picking out a weapon that is going to add a little bit more variety to the gameplay. This might be something where, hey, you know what? Now's a good opportunity to do my camos on my pistol. It's a good opportunity to maybe use a shotgun that sucks. Maybe I'm going to use a sniper that I'm not particularly good with, even though it could be good. It's just the reaction time is going to be better. And then you get that oscillation and fluctuation in your gameplay. So you have different dopamine hits for different types of things. And you can feel like don't have to put your foot on the gas the entire time, which is inevitably what ends up happening with the current system, where essentially if you're a higher skilled player, you're going to be in this top area where it just flatlines, and every match will essentially feel the same. And then after a while, if you just have some bad matches because you tried to use a pistol, maybe you get a slightly low average, and then it goes immediately back up the second you do any kind of good. And you get no real fluctuations in that, and you don't know when this is going to come. And when it does come, because of the current system, it feels like kind of like a pity system, that you're kind of guaranteed this lower than high SBMM gameplay because, you know, getting the worst of it when it comes to SBMM, or you just haven't been doing too well in the matches that have been given to you, where you essentially have to carry your team.
And I want to be able to relax while I'm doing it, man. If I'm leveling up my pistols, or if I'm going for my dark matter camo, I don't want to have to just be facing people who are playing like it's league play constantly 24/7. It doesn't make for a fun experience. And if you're one of those people out there who do enjoy that sweaty competitive environment, ranked play is a thing. Yet for some reason, don't really play ranked play. You just sweat in public matches, which is really weird of you. Go play ranked play, man. It's there for a reason. I will always and forever be against the idea of skill-based matchmaking being in a casual playlist, because I feel like overall for the community, it's the best thing for everybody.
And I think if he had a chance to reiterate kind of what he was talking about, I think he would agree too, that this lowest end should be protected. And that's for the extreme low level. And then everything else should have that oscillation that I was kind of talking about, with the lower threshold not actually being passed, to protect those players that might have a specific disability or something holding them back from improving or being able to enjoy the game within these ones. COD has kind of narrowed these quite a bit, especially if we're talking about 10 ranges of skill. They have a really good grasp of where their players sit and can really manipulate it on top of, while protecting their players that are at the absolute lowest. The lobby he's in right now is not this protected. It's still kind of above the line in some way. They're clearly not great players, but they could definitely be worse.
We were all there at one point. I mean, a lot of us were way back in the day. You know, for me, back in Call of Duty 4, you know, the craziest thing is after my live stream where we messed around on this account for a little bit before going back to my main account to try out the new maps and try out all that stuff, you know, I tweeted to the Call of Duty Twitter to get my beta combat record, and without even trying, like literally, like you guys are just like watching me like run around like shooting and missing and just sticking around in general, I still somehow had a .77 KD.
This is actually an EKIA, so if he got one bullet on somebody but ended up dying, it would still register because of the EKIA system,
which is
that it has.
Because
so technically his actual KD was probably a little bit lower than that, but still below, right, you know, better than it probably should be.
Call of Duty 4 back in 2007, and longtime fans of the channel, you might remember this number. I had
so you just got a double kill right there.
KD, trying my absolute ass off. I just wasn't any good at the game, but I wanted to get better because I saw other people that were better than me at the game, and I wanted to improve, and eventually I fell in love with the Call of Duty franchise. I worry, and I might be wrong here, this might be...
I will say I have a similar story. Mine wasn't quite that low. I think my first COD, it was like a 1.25 or something like that, and then generally it boosted up to like a 1.77, 1.75, and then probably around IWs when I actually started thinking about it. Hey, you know what? I should actually focus on trying to get good at this before I made my channel. And then it shot up to like a weekly of like a 3.5. So it was pretty good. World War II over 3. You know, I've been towards the lower end, and I've been to the higher end, and now I'm kind of around a 2, so still up there, but not nearly as high as it could be. And I that's why one of the parts where I can see both perspectives on the different skill level, and I know that having the lobbies spread out in the way that they were in the example I just gave, which the way you have the highs and the lows, allowed for you to really get a good grasp on where you sat relative to everyone that played the game, versus now where it's kind of like you only really get to see where you're at within your bracket, which never feels good, because it's essentially even.
Be Activision proving a point. I worry that the people in these lobbies are eventually just never going to fall in love with COD the same way I did, because they just, all their matches are like this. Every single game is just like this. And you know what? They're probably just happy being there. They're happy to get 14 kills in a full length game of domination. Maybe they're having a blast doing that. I don't know. I can't speak for them. But at the same time, these people, a lot of them are running around with the $100 pre-order bundles as well. So maybe they really do like their skill-based matchmaking bracket. Maybe they like being at the very bottom of the bracket there, where every single match is chill and relaxed. And maybe that's what keeps them coming back every single year, and maybe that's why they keep spending so much money on microtransactions, and why Activision keeps skill-based matchmaking in the game.
100%.
If the vast majority of the community is like this and experiences COD like this, well, no wonder it makes $1 billion every year. But if you're somebody like me, and I'm sure many of you out there watching this video, let's face it, most of you, all of you watching this video, if you're watching Old Nero Cinema talk about skill-based matchmaking on the internet, you're probably a pretty hardcore COD fan. Let's be real here. But for people like us, we're stuck in like the very top part of skill-based matchmaking, where the game, just for me anyway.
Again, based off the white paper, it's roughly that first 10%, because they break the player base down into 10 increments of skill. If you look back at the white paper, you'll see the different graphs. And on that, we just happen to fall within that top 10%. I know for Warzone, mine falls around the top 3%. I'm better in multiplayer than I am in Warzone, so I would imagine it's even higher than that. But top 10% is kind of where it sits.
It just isn't very fun long term. Like, it might be fun while you're going for your dark matter camo, but once I'm done with the dark matter camo, it's like, now I don't have anything to grind for in the game, and all my matches are just sweaty and competitive and just exhausting. You know what I mean? So I wish there was more variety in the COD franchise. I truly do. I wish it was more like the X-Defiant matchmaking, where it's just completely random. People get thrown in. Some are good, some are bad, some are amazing, some are terrible, and you just go in there and you have fun. You play the game, and it's relaxing. You know, for the other part of the community out there, the people you guys have been watching throughout this video, I bet COD's freaking relaxing for them. They're probably just having a blast playing the game right now. Whereas for me, man, playing an hour of COD is literally physically and mentally exhausting for me anymore.
Especially for myself, now that I'm 36 years old. I don't know how old Nero is. I think he's still under 30. But I would imagine that, like, your endurance in terms of being able to stay locked in and focused reaction time wise, you get burnt out so much quicker, especially when you're in that top end where you literally have to focus. And even if you take, like, you blink for too long and you're getting shot instantly, people are not missing bullets. And it doesn't allow for that factor that, cool, I can only play 45 minutes, an hour. The grind fatigue sets in of having to be tense, locked in for that hour.
Or I just wish there was somewhere in between. But the focus of this video here, guys, was the fact that skill-based matchmaking, believe it or not, is rampant here in the Black Ops 6 beta, and hopefully that was proven with the footage that you guys saw here today. I hope you enjoyed this video. Leave your thoughts and feedback down there in the comments. Thank you all so much for listening, and I hope you guys all.
What Nero said, I'm gonna go ahead and leave his video down in the description. Go ahead and check it out. Appreciate the support. Thank you for watching as always. Have a great day.